I tried to do, hi, I tried to do a video a couple of days ago, but my phone kind of froze up for some reason. So I'm going to give it another shot. I typically do new moon videos after the new moon, and I'm doing one now because there are certain messages I wanted to convey before the new moon. Now, as I've mentioned to you before, we have a new moon, activity peaks to the full moon, and from the full moon to the next new moon, activity starts to recede. We had our last full moon, this is important, on September the 24th. So not this past week, but the week before. And last week, around September the 24th, it's possible for those people who felt the full moon, and a lot of you may have, whatever it was that the full moon brought, and all of last week we may have felt the effect of the full moon to some extent. This week, and I'm talking about the week where we headed into October the 1st, it's October the 6th. This particular week, the week before the new moon on October the 8th on Monday, the theme is wrapping things up. Even if you're trying to do something new, even if you're trying to create something new, even if you start something new, I wouldn't be surprised if you were basically completing activities related to the full moon on the 24th and preparing to start new things after the 8th of October. Let me give you 2 or 3 scenarios. So with full moons, we can typically see one of 3 things happening. We can either see in its most positive manifestation offers, or you being pushed into the spotlight in some way, or opportunities coming your way. Full moons signify things coming to completion. It's also this giant spotlight that can sometimes shine on you. So let's say that there was an offer that was made to you around, a few days heading into September the 24th, or a few days after, around that time frame. So it's possible that the last week and a half to 2 weeks has really been about preparing to start whatever it is that this offer brought, or if the offer brought something, it could be that whatever it was needed to be dealt with and taken care of over the last week and a half. So whatever, if it was a positive thing that was brought to you on September the 24th, this past week or so, and indeed the next couple of days, the theme is wrap things up. Whatever it was that full moon brought, whether it was something positive, or option number 2, it brought some sort of a meltdown, or it brought emotional things to the fore for some reason, or third scenario, it brought completions of some sort. Maybe not on the 24th itself, maybe 3 or 4 days after, maybe 3 or 4 days before, maybe sometime last week. Last week is a tricky thing to say because it's already Saturday. I mean, not this past week, but the week before. Around September the 24th, whatever it was that the full moon brought, the theme right now, even if you want to start something new, is wrap things up. Complete things. Indeed, prior to October the 8th, it's not November yet, sorry, prior to October the 8th, 8:47 p.m., I would say focus on completing things and taking care of things and wrapping them up. Indeed, because we're going to very shortly be within 48 hours of the new moon, as you head towards the new moon, you might find that your energy is flatlining. You might find that really you are completing things. You are taking care of sending those final emails. You are taking care of sending those final messages. You are taking care of wrapping things up. You are taking care of saying goodbye to the last lunar cycle, and indeed activities that peaked around the 24th. And clearing the space for a new set of activities to begin after October the 8th. I didn't say November the 8th. Good for me. So by all means, pay attention to that part of the lunar cycle, and the next 48 hours or so, as we head to the new moon, be prepared for the energies to just kind of collapse and flatten and be a little tired or have a hard time being motivated to do something or do something new or push for things. Complete things. Okay? Item number 1, preparing for this new moon. This new moon has, generically speaking, a certain intensity to it, a sense of responsibility, something related to work, something related to being responsible and making responsible decisions. Squaring Saturn is not always the happiest thing, but it can bring results that require action and integration. And that brings me to the next point. We're now into October. The month of September, I would not be surprised, was for the people who've been following my videos, for the month of September was our first month in a while, probably since May, of true forward movement. And as I've said before, as much as we were complaining about it being a pretty static summer and a pretty flat summer, I warned you that forward movement, as exciting as can be, can also, kind of bring its own challenges. I think we as people don't really like it when the energy is flat, and we don't like it when the energy is moving really fast. Typically, we don't like things. Our sort of state as human beings is to be not content with the way things are. So I do hope that you've been taking advantage of September, and it's very likely or possible that in September, anything that you were sitting on related to the full moon lunar eclipse in Aquarius on July the 27th may have started to seek resolution, forward movement, and closure. So just as a reminder, the Aquarius eclipses, the last of which was on July the 27th of this year, the key dates for those would be June the 7th to August the 7th of 2017, and then February the 15th of this year to July the 27th of this year. And this is an eclipse where we need to release something. We're actually releasing a relationship or releasing a job or releasing something physical, or we're releasing an attachment to something that we have outgrown that is no longer serving us. And depending on who you are and what your chart looks like, you'd need to pay attention to where that eclipse occurred and where the sign of Aquarius is to really interpret where that might be. Sorry, my cat Isabella just came and sat right next to me, so I'm petting her. So the month of September especially was pretty single-minded in its focus on finishing things related to this eclipse, and that theme is going to continue till November the 15th. Mars is in Aquarius. It was here at the time of the July 27th eclipse, retrograde. It went direct. It went out of Aquarius, now back into Aquarius, and it is here to say, all right, by November the 15th, let's get done with whatever these eclipses, Aquarius eclipses of release, have been about. Now, October brings new things into the mix. The October energies are a little bit more complex. First and foremost, the planet Venus. Relationships. Love. I'm not talking about desire love. I'm not talking about the masculine Mars principle of love. I'm not talking lust and desire and a great deal of aggressive or assertive sexuality. I'm talking about Venus and therefore the feminine principle, the importance of relating, the importance of relationships, the importance of commitments, partnerships, contracts even in some ways, partnership, and the receptive principle of love when it comes to sexuality and flirtation, or romance. Venus, love, beauty, art, money. When Venus goes retrograde, the fundamental question, wherever it is going retrograde, all of us will be grappling from October the 5th to November the 16th of this year. The question that we will be made to ask is, what do we value? Now, it is possible that Venus retrograde brings financial tightness or the need for financial care. It could bring up expenses. It could bring up, the purpose of that tightness is really to help you ask the question, what do you value? Are you spending money in ways that you should not be spending money? Are there expenses that need to be cut back on? The other thing that a retrograde planet does is it can bring back issues from the past, and especially in Venus's case, bring back offers and opportunities and relationships from the past. Things that may need to be closed out or revisited. Contracts that may need to be revisited or closed out. Now, I want you to pay attention, because it's only October the 6th and Venus went retrograde yesterday. I really want you to pay attention to things that have been top of mind for you over the past 3 or 4 days. It's a new set of energies. It's a new set of areas. Whenever a planet goes retrograde, we look at where it is going retrograde, we look at what it is that it governs, and we look at the houses that it owns. I can't help you with all that because this is a generic update here. I can't help you with that here. You would need to look at your chart. Someone else would need to look at your chart. I would need to look at your chart to see exactly where Venus is at and what houses it owns. But generically speaking, relationships, anything to do with creativity and art, but money too. All of this would kind of come under this purview. And even outside of all of that, just pay attention to around October the 5th, what are some of the things that you have had to be dealing with that kind of almost seemingly out of the blue have taken center stage. So it's as if you had a certain set of tasks in September that you've had to do and be focused on, and all of a sudden on October the 5th, there's bam, 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 something completely new. I'm sorry, I have cat hair flying all over. So something completely new has shown up that requires an immediate priority. And I would pay attention to that. You may very well, as you're finishing out the Aquarius lunar eclipse tasks through November the 15th, you may now also be served up something else that has to be dealt with. This something else has to do with where the sign of Scorpio sits in your chart. Venus is going retrograde in Scorpio. The planet Jupiter, which has been trying to make auspicious new beginnings and therefore also endings, the ending of a 12-year cycle, the start of a 12-year cycle, October the 10th of 2017 to November the 8th of this year, is also getting ready to leave. This is going to be a long update, but it's a really important update. So the planet Jupiter has been in Scorpio since October the 10th of last year to November the 8th of this year, trying to make auspicious new beginnings in the area where Venus has just gone retrograde. So rather than get frustrated when you're looking at this video as to where is Scorpio and I don't know what he's talking about, I would just say pay attention to some of the things that may have come up over the past 4 or 5 days, especially if there are new things that are distracting you from what you've been primarily focused on in September. You're going to be asked, there's something happening in conjunction now, or you basically have been, your dinner plate, someone has added something new on it that needs to be dealt with. There's something really mysterious about the second half of this year, insofar as when we had the lunar eclipse in Aquarius on July the 27th, Mars was retrograde there. When we had the solar eclipse on August the 11th, Mercury was retrograde there. And as Jupiter gets ready to change signs from Scorpio to Sagittarius on November the 8th, we're going to have Venus retrograde here. It's almost as if these events happen and these smaller personal planets, in going retrograde at the time the events happen, require us to be assimilating and preparing for changes, and then as these planets go direct one more time, the change can finally occur and finally happen in a more positive way. There's something very strange about these big astrological events that are happening, and at the time they happen, there's another planet that goes in there and says, all right, you get done with your stuff, I'll stay to clean up, and I'll stay to make sure that everything gets completed. So Venus retrograde, October the 5th to November the 16th, Scorpio initially, back into Libra, and then straight ahead in Libra and back into Scorpio. Don't worry too much about that. I do want you to see and think about things that may have come into your life seeking attention in a pretty prominent way over the past few days. And you'll still be dealing with this over the next 3 or 4 days. Indeed, you're going to be dealing with this during this Venus retrograde period. But pay attention to things coming to you on October the 5th that feel new and different from what you've been dealing with in September. And give it the attention that it needs. You may be reassessing finances, but more importantly, you may be reassessing relationships and going over stuff. Okay? Now, the rest of this year is really interesting. We had a ton of planets retrograde over the summer, and which is why the summer just seemed like someone had hit the pause button in a really serious way. By the time we came into September, we were go, 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 go. All of a sudden, the energy went from hold back to just move forward really fast. Indeed, for the end of August and the first half of September, we maybe felt like, wait a second, I'm not yet ready to move with this kind of pace. Now, October the 5th, Venus goes retrograde. November the 16th, it goes direct. November the 17th, the next day, Mercury goes retrograde. And December the 6th, it goes direct. So between now and December the 6th, a planet is retrograde. Is it the best possible time to be making final decisions and the best possible time to be signing contracts? And is it the best possible time? There's something about, I'm not going to use the word, whichever direction we're headed in, there are important reconsiderations. There's something about a certain amount of turmoil that is almost necessary so that by the time we head to December the 15th and in the new year, we can feel like, okay, whichever direction has been set for us is finally here. And it's as if reassessing financial and relationship decisions and then reassessing decisions is part of the process. Okay? It's not the same energy as the summer when practically everything was retrograde and everything had stopped. We're still moving forward, but part of the moving forward now requires, especially between now and November the 16th, requires asking the question, what do we value? And between November the 17th and December the 6th requires us to really look at what are things we decided on and agreed on, that what were the assumptions we had made that need to be re-looked at. And then by the time we head into the middle of December, the energies are cleaner and clearer. In the meantime, we're going to have new moons and full moons that keep working on and exaggerating these energies and the energies of the eclipses. I told you it was an eventful time. One more thing. Pay attention to, we had a solar eclipse in Cancer on July the 12th. This solar eclipse is the first of the eclipses in Cancer, and these eclipses in Cancer will become really important in 2019 and 2020. Just think about if right after July the 12th, or close to September the 12th, the week before, week after, what happened around that time? There was a new set of energies. Because if you pay attention to that and if it feels like it was something eventful right after July the 12th, or week before, week after September the 12th, new set of energies from anything you've really been dealing with, that may gain a certain amount of prominence in 2019 and 2020. Okay, we had a second solar eclipse on August the 11th. The solar eclipse on August the 11th was in Leo. We've been having eclipses here since February 2017. The August 11th eclipse in Leo was related thematically to the following time periods. December 9th, 2016 to February 9th, 2017. July 21st of 2017, especially August 21st or so of 2017 to January 31st, 2018. And now August 11th of this year to January 21st of 2019. Okay? The August 11th eclipse, it may be that this coming week, as we head towards October the 11th, with a solar eclipse, I look to the date 2 months after. The week prior to October the 11th, where we're at right now, and after, just look to see if something comes through there that has some sort of a thematic link to the dates that we mentioned. Okay? As I said, if it was a summer of pausing and frustration because things weren't moving and indecision and confusion and not knowing which way to go, since the end of August, particularly September, it has an all systems go feeling. Venus and Mercury going retrograde, as frustrating as they may be, almost require us to check in with ourselves with regard to ensuring that we're moving in the right direction. Venus will ask the question, what do we value? Its theme is going to be monetary relationships. I wouldn't be surprised if I have seen this. Typically, Venus brings tightness, but I know 3 people now who have either received monies or offers around Venus going retrograde. There's a monetary theme, but it's almost as if the universe has gone here. But it's not entirely clear. My advice to anyone is that if something like that happened, do not spend it all. Just wait and see where this Venus retrograde, are you going to really have to rely on the sum for a longer period of time than you thought? What do you value? Where are you spending money? Do you really need that Netflix subscription, the Filmstruck subscription, and the Amazon Prime subscription, and the Hulu subscription? Because when the money is there, we just happily pay the bills. When the money's not there, we are forced to ask the question, what do we use? What do we value? What are our goals? And as snails, is the shell that is on our back enabling us to move in the right direction? Or is that shell on our back weighing us down and not allowing us? Is what we own and what we have supporting us or not? So when you ask the question, what do you value? You're really also asking the question when it comes to Venus, do you own what you own? Or does what you own you? In terms of what you have to do to spend money to maintain it and keep it going. And the same principle can be applied to relationships with Venus going retrograde. And if there's a theme of creativity for people who it applies, arts, it could apply there too. As I said, you would have to look at where Venus is currently transiting in your chart and the houses that it rules. I'm not going to talk right now about the Mercury retrograde except to say that just the day after Venus goes direct, Mercury goes retrograde. So we'll revisit that as we head forward. Over the next 24 to 48 hours, over the next 48 hours, finish things. Wrap them up. Something amazing came to you around September the 24th. Something horrible came to you around September 24th. There was an ending around September 24th. Finish it all. After October the 8th, Monday night, after the new moon happens Pacific time, you can start to take some action and initiate things into the new cycle. At the same time, don't be surprised if things come back from the past, if things have to be revisited, if things have to be reviewed. September had a single-minded quality to it. In October, there'll be lots to think about. And as you move forward, pay attention to things that have been brought to you around October the 5th. Pay attention and see what is brought to you around October the 11th. And if this new moon comes with a certain sense of seriousness and responsibility, don't be afraid to start taking appropriate actions, however stressful they may be, because they may hold the key to whatever the next steps need to be. I said this would be a long update, and it has been. All right, I will leave it here. If you want me to look at your chart and see where the energies are playing out there, I will put my contact information when I finish the upload over to YouTube. You're welcome to do so. Share the video, subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment, whatever it is. Feel free to participate. I will be back soon. Thanks.